It's been a total pleasure and honor on behalf of India SME Accelerator Network to have you with us today. And all the MSMEs in our network and outside of our network who are listening to us today and participating in World MSME Day will greatly benefit from the guidance and the kind words today. A couple of questions that come to us from the keynote. You spoke about a very important point about the government thrust in several schemes that are available from SIDBI's perspective, extended exclusively for MSMEs. What do you think that the MSMEs should do better to be able to leverage these schemes and get the access?
Very difficult question. And given the vast number of SMEs and the way they are spread out across the country, the only way for this communication to reach them is us working through multiple industry associations. I think we've got the most vibrant set of industry associations that we could ask for. So it's really for entities like SIDBI and other such large players to work through the industry associations and disseminate this information. So, we have tried, probably we need to do much better and have many more events and campaigns to be able to bring to the attention of the MSMEs at their various, stages of growth, what is useful to them. But one initiative which did work well, and I'm not too sure again how much this has really come to the notice of the MSMEs, is the Jan Samarth program, which the Government of India has very well crafted together, something like the schemes of 15 ministries which largely cater to the MSME sector.
Okay.
This has the sort of immediate reach. Of course, it is entirely digital. So one would expect the MSMEs to go on to the Jan Samarth portal, and having put in their application, which is a very simple process, it doesn't ask for too many details. What this portal will do is throw up those schemes that are immediately relevant and to which the MSME may be eligible.
Excellent.
So it is really the intent is to match the MSME's profile with the eligibility schemes of variety of government schemes.
Right, excellent. I think that is very, very useful for the MSMEs to pick up from this. Like you rightly said, I think going digital is one important element for them to get access to credit and access to information on various schemes, etc. What, according to you, are some of the areas in which MSMEs have to upskill themselves to be able to, grow and take themselves forward?
That's a question which I have myself, met several MSMEs in the last 2 years on various visits across different parts of our country. If you ask me, their ability to do business with more number of buyers is something which is limited. So many of the SMEs are single sort of buyer entities. They just are dedicated to a single buyer, which leaves them with a high level of risk. So, I would really say de-risking them in terms of their customer base is something which is very important, and practically I would say 98% of MSMEs must be B2B. I mean, the number of MSMEs which are doing direct to customers, retail customers probably is very less. So when in a B2B setup, what we would help them do is bring them on to ONDC, and I've said this before, that if we have probably 60 to 70 lakh MSMEs which are GST registered, how do we tackle this as a problem, and what is the solution? How do we bring their products onto a sort of digital catalog so that they are discoverable by other people who have an interest in that particular industry? And this is what we are working with a vast number of existing players. In fact, these kind of projects can never be done by yourself. You must bring in the existing, players in the system, maybe people who are already running small digital platforms where they have maybe 5,000 or 10,000 MSMEs who are already registered there. We need to bring in as many players as possible, expose them to the ONDC, because as you know, ONDC is not a proprietary platform of anybody. It is a network where multiple platforms can also get onto that network. So in this way, we should be able to bring in several lakh MSMEs to bring their products onto this digital e-commerce network, wherein they have the ability to be able to be discovered, and they may also be able to discover other people to whom they can do business with.
Right. Absolutely well said, and that should be a complete delight for several MSMEs who are looking forward to a marketplace to take their products to. Great. I think one important thought that MSMEs should dwell upon, like you rightly said, is marketing their products. And therefore, what do you think should be the mindset change that is needed when they have to think global? De-risking themselves, and therefore when they think global beyond India as a market. What are your thoughts on that for MSMEs?
I think that is probably the biggest challenge for any business, be it an MSME or be it even a large corporate. The minute you start going global, there are so many other compliances that you need to deal with. That itself could be fairly difficult for them to do. I think we have largely solved for trade credits. We have got multiple platforms where trade credit is now that much more easily available. In fact, let me also mention that the TREDS platform, which has done reasonably well in the domestic area, is now being replicated at the IFSCA. So we are, in fact, the SIDBI backed TREDS platform called RXIL has already got permission to operate in the IFSCA, and where a very similar invoice discounting platform would be available. So you could even imagine an MSME exporting and being able to get its money back immediately from the TREDS platform at the IFSCA. So what I am really saying is that the easier part is probably the finance. The more difficult part is the quality that is demanded by the foreign entity. That is one. And two, it really is a multiple level of ESG factors that have today become that much more important. So I think things like child labor and all were issue of the past. I would say that probably no MSME in the country is employing child labor, but what is looked at is how green is your process, how low are you on carbon emissions, what is the level of gender diversity that you've brought into your organization. Now these are aspects that are becoming increasingly important, and some of them do not have immediate easy solutions. So it might take 2 years for an MSME to be able to change its manufacturing process and make it that much more conforming with carbon emissions. So I think it is going to be a challenge, but we need to really help the MSMEs confront this challenge and provide them the right solutions.
Very well said. I think as enablers and as an ecosystem, there is a lot to be done, as I'm hearing from you. So as the last question, I'd like to ask you, as India SME Accelerator Network, we are doing our bit in upskilling the MSMEs, making them future ready. What is your guidance and suggestion to ecosystem partners and enablers like us? What should we be focusing on for the next few years?
So I think the whole concept of the accelerator is a great one. Sort of more power to your elbows to get more MSMEs on board. But what you would really need to do, I think, is to differentiate the MSMEs in terms of what is their need. One, of course, there is an industry. So the industry would automatically bring in a certain number of constraints and therefore the required solutions. But even if we were to be sector agnostic for the moment, between a very good ERP system that costs them very little, so can can we have more people hosting ERP systems, which are shared systems across the MSME sector? The marketing skills that they need, what do we do? I mean, one is of course e-commerce, but it's not a solution for everything. It's a lot of hard-nosed, marketing that happens in these fairs and exhibitions to which MSMEs do attend. The cost of each fair is huge for them. So, how do we bring in, maybe bring the fairs to India and get the buyers from abroad to come to India and have a look at it. So, there are infrastructural requirements that we need to think about, and when I say we, it is, large institutions like SIDBI and the government put together. So, there is a need to rethink the, ability of an MSME to reach out to the foreign buyer especially. And I would say the ability of an SME to understand what are the changes in their specific industries globally, and how quickly can we bring in the latest of technologies that probably are available globally but take a lot of time to come into India. So, the way we look at it is, whenever we finance a machinery of an MSME, for us it is immediately energy efficient, because it being a new machine, already the world has prepared a more carbon efficient and a more sort of ESG compliant machine. Now that is really what we need to do in a much larger scale, across multiple different industries.
Got it. Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramann. It has been a total pleasure interacting with you, and I'm sure today the valuable insights you have given, MSMEs have gained immensely, and they're going to look up to institutions like SIDBI and mentors like you to continuously guide them on their journey, not just to grow but also to grow globally into becoming great iconic enterprises emerging out of India in the global platform. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me over.